Good morning, everybody. Happy Saturday. All right, so today we're going to be working on our medical Qigong from about 8:15 until about 8:45. And then we're going to do a little bit more instruction from 8:45 to like 9:15 or 9 or 9:15, probably more like 9. Let's go ahead and get started. We're opening up to the left. The left side is the more yang side in our system. I'm going to try to mirror you, and our feet are parallel, settling into this space. The tip of the tongue is touching the roof of the mouth. We're breathing in and out through the nose. And we're softening the knees, relaxing the low back, relaxing the shoulders, relaxing the jaw. The very top of the head is reaching up into the sky. And then with the right hand in a loose fist, we're going to start tapping at our lower dantian, 3 to 4 finger breaths beneath the belly button. And as we breathe, we're just trying to allow the breath to enter and leave the body in as relaxed a manner as possible. So you're not trying to force the breath. But you are trying to let it be as slow and relaxed as you can. Coming up the midline. To underneath the clavicle. Down the ribs. Back on over to the midline and up. Very top of the shoulder. Traveling down the outside of the arm. To the back of the hand. And the palm. Back on up the forearm. Very top of the shoulder, letting that arm hang. Wiping out anything you don't need or want, letting it go back into the earth. Settling back into the space, maybe mentally checking in, seeing if the left arm seems a little different than the right arm. And then continuing on, now we get to open up the right side of the body, the right side of the upper channels. Letting the tapping gently reverberate throughout the tissue. Slowing down, wiping out anything you don't need or want. Okay, we're going to widen our stance, moving the left foot further out to the side. I'm going to scoot over so I'm more in frame. And then we're going to tap the inner thighs up at the hips. While we're doing this motion, go ahead and relax the shoulders as much as possible. Relaxing the elbows, relaxing the wrists, allowing the momentum to be most of the impetus of the movement. And transitioning, widening the stance a little more. That's going to make it easier as you tap down the inner aspect of the legs, going only as far down as it feels good to you. If you can, just above the inner aspect of the ankle, before then coming to the outside of the leg, coming back on up. Once you get to the glutes, go ahead and slide that left foot a little closer to the right. If you like, you can add in a little more pressure here. It's a bigger muscle group typically, so it can handle a little bit more oomph in the tapping. But then as you transition up to underneath the rib cage, you want to back off on that pressure. We want to gently wake up the kidneys. Placing the palms at the low back, circling down the sides and up the spine. Resting the palms at the low back. Gently closing the eyes. And with the mind's intention guiding the breath in the chi to the low back, letting the kidneys fill up with energy. And then as you exhale through the nose, letting that energy flow to wherever it's needed within the body. Inhaling, guiding the breath in the chi to the palms. Exhaling, allowing the energy to flow freely. One more time, inhaling, guiding the breath in the chi to the low back. Exhaling, allowing the body and mind to rest and relax. Gently opening the eyes, letting the arms come back down to the sides and closing by bringing that left foot back to the right. We're going to do something similar to what we did yesterday. We're going to review the first 4 exercises of the Golden 8. And then in the second half of the class, we're going to work on the 5th exercise, twist and release. Sorry, turn and look back and twist and release. The names are very similar, even though the exercises are different. Sometimes it takes me a moment to get the wording correct. Let's start out with our lung and large intestine exercise, the first exercise of the Golden 8. Reach for happiness. Our feet are parallel, about hip width, shoulder width apart. A little wider is just fine. We're going to settle into this space. Inhaling as we sweep the arms out to the sides, gathering in front of the breastbone. Exhaling, palms remain up as we guide them down to the lower dantian. Inhaling up to the breastbone. Exhaling, the palms face the earth, the fingers intertwine. Inhaling as our gaze follows the backs of the hands coming up onto the toes, if that feels okay to you. Exhaling here. Inhaling again. And exhaling as we sweep the arms out, coming back to standing. Inhaling. And exhaling. In and out. Inhaling and exhaling. In and out. Inhaling as we gather, allowing the palms to communicate with the chest. Exhaling as we guide the hands down to the lower dantian. Inhaling, raising the chi up. Exhaling. Inhaling as we guide our chi up above, expanding the chest. Exhaling. Inhaling once again, allowing the torso to expand. And then exhaling as we come back to the earth. Inhaling and exhaling. In and out. Inhaling and exhaling. In and out. Start working with your own pace. Allowing the breath to guide the body. Moving just a touch faster or slower, depending on what feels best to you. And if the mind starts wandering off, gently guide it on back to the breath, to the movement. Once you've completed the one that you're on, go ahead and hold. When you're ready, go ahead and close by bringing that left foot back to the right. So that was reach for happiness. Now we're going to do the Archer exercise, which is the heart and small intestine exercise. And we're working on those elements, those organ systems through the pericardium. So we're opening up a little wider than shoulder width apart. On an inhale, we're bringing the hands up in front of the breastbone or in front of the throat. The left hand is on the outside, the right hand is on the inside. We've softened our knees. Then we exhale as we guide that left hand out to the left, pushing against that invisible wall lightly while keeping a strong claw with the right. Inhaling as we guide back to the center. Exhaling, extending out. Inhaling, bringing everything back to the center. Exhaling, the gaze is focused on the very tip of the middle finger. And as we inhale, our gaze transitions to the inner wrist. Exhaling. And inhaling. Exhaling. And inhaling. Trying to let that transition from side to side go as smoothly as possible. Relaxing into the exercise. Theoretically, the only tension is in that claw as we pull back. Maybe slowing down if you like, or speeding up. And about one more time on each side. Holding at the center. Exhaling as we release, bringing that left foot back to the right. All right, so we've done the lung and large intestine exercise, reach for happiness. We've done this heart and small intestine, the archer. Now we're going to do our spleen and stomach exercise, between heaven and earth, opening up, hip width, shoulder width apart, letting the feet communicate with the earth. Sweeping the arms out as we inhale, gathering in front of the chest. Exhaling as we bring both hands down to the lower dantian. Inhaling both hands up before the left hand goes to the sky, the right hand pushing down against the earth. Exhaling as we bring both feet, or hands, not the feet, the hands together at the breastbone. Inhaling and exhaling. Sweeping the arms out to the sides, gathering in front of the chest, in front of the breastbone. Exhaling both hands down to the lower dantian. Inhaling both hands up before the right hand continues its journey up to the sky. Exhaling, bring both hands. Inhaling, sweeping the arms out, gathering in front of the breastbone. Exhaling. In. All the way up, communicating with the sky and with the earth. Exhaling. In. And out. Inhaling. And exhaling. In. And out. Inhaling. And exhaling. Working with your own breath at your own speed. Relaxing into the exercise. Meaning don't think about it too much. Let the mind rest as it just focuses in on the breath. The breath is generating the movement. And when you're ready, closing by bringing that left foot back to the right. Our fourth exercise, turn and look back. Our feet are parallel. Hip width is a little easier, I think, especially on the knees. Inhaling the shoulders up. Exhaling as we press the palms flat against the earth. Remember, adjusting to whatever is most comfortable for you. If this position doesn't work out for you because it's too painful, you can adjust either how high or low the arms are or the angle of the hands. But classically, they're about 2 to 4 inches away from the hips. Settling into the space. Inhaling as we wrap around that core of the body. First the torso, then the head, and then the eyes looking as far left as they can. Exhaling as we relax the eyes, bring back the head, and then the torso. Inhaling now to the right, torso, head, eyes. Exhaling, eyes, head, torso. Inhaling. And exhaling. In. And out. And just a few more times at your own pace. And when you're ready, releasing the arms and closing. Okay, so that was our Sanjiao exercise, triple burner exercise. Turn and look back. Bringing the palms together. Try to make sure the feet are as close together as possible, as is comfortable for you. We're trying to retain all that energy we've been cultivating over the past half hour. Transferring a little bit of that energy to the palms. And then traditionally, men place their left hand first, right hand on top. Women, right hand first, left hand on top. We're placing the palms at the lower dantian. Maybe you can feel a little bit of warmth in your belly from the warmth in the palms. If not, it's okay. Closing the eyes. Tip of the tongue still touching the roof of the mouth as we inhale. Guiding the breath down into the lower dantian. Exhaling. Allowing that chi to settle and store there so that you may use it throughout the rest of your day. Inhaling, guiding the breath and the chi to the lower dantian, allowing it to fill up with energy. Exhaling, allowing that energy to settle and store. Inhaling, guiding that breath, that chi to the lower dantian. And exhaling, allowing the mind and body to rest and relax. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Happy Saturday. So if you want to run away, you are more than free to do so. I'm going to talk for probably about 15 more minutes and go over some of the exercises for about 15 more minutes, and then Henry will join us and talk to us about stuff. Okay, so first I'd like to jump back to the last exercise that we did. One little hint that I don't think I mentioned when we went over it the first time. Oh, thank you. Sorry, I'm a little blind. So even though I have my contacts in, I have to run up and see stuff. Thank you, everybody. Okay, so the Sanjiao exercise. Turn and look back. When you're turning, we talk a lot about the channels. We don't necessarily talk about how much, where they go, and where they're located. I'm going to do a little bit, tiny bit today. But I think a lot of us think of them as being on the surface of the body. And though it's true that one way to describe them, and especially if you look at charts, at anatomical, Chinese medical anatomical charts, you'll see the lines and the little dots, the points running along the body, and we talk about the channels and the meridians. And we think of them many times like waterways, so streams and rivers, lakes and oceans. So even though the waterways are harnessed through that one line, quote unquote, like whether it's a stream or a river or even a body of water like a lake, that water is able to permeate right through the earth. So I'm getting a little ahead of myself. But what I really wanted to say is, for the Sanjiao, for that Sanjiao exercise, instead of thinking so much about the surface of the body, meaning the sinews, I talk a lot about the sinews and the tissues. So instead of the musculature on this one, if you can imagine a tube going from the very crown of the head down through the torso, in the middle of the torso of the body, and then as you're wrapping around, if you can think about wrapping around that inner core of the body, that may help you out some. Okay, if it doesn't help you out, then just ignore it and push it to the side. So that's all I wanted to say about that. And then the next thing I wanted to talk about very, very briefly, the tapping exercises that we do in the very beginning.
I've talked about the 6 channels running through the arms and 6 channels running through the legs. I'm going to generalize quite a bit now, but there are 3 yin channels, 3 yin meridians that run through the arms and into the torso. The yin channels typically go either from the torso to the limbs. So 3 yin going into the arm and the hand. In the legs, it's 3 yin channels going from the feet up into the torso. The yang channels, same idea, except they begin and end in the head. So for the arms, we've got 3 yang channels that go from the fingertips all the way up into the head. And for the leg channels, we've got 3 yang channels that go from the head and the eyes, the face, down into the feet. And the reason why I'm spending so much time explaining this is because I want you to know that as you're doing that tapping exercise, you really are getting a lot done. So if there comes a day where it's like you just don't feel like doing anything, and I know we've heard Henry talk about how important it is to try and practice your Qigong every day, even if you just spend time tapping and waking up those channels, that's doing a lot. Okay, so now on to twist and release our liver gallbladder exercise. We've talked about this one before. We're going to open up a little wider than hip width, shoulder width apart. Can be helpful. For this one, it can be a little strenuous, a little achy on the knees or in the hips. So as always, please, please, please modify for you. What might help is if you allow, and we'll back up a little bit so you can see my feet. If you allow the edges of the feet to come up a little bit, that may take pressure off of the knees. You don't want to wrench the knee joint. So we're going to take our forefinger and our thumb. We're wrapping them around the thigh. Remember that thumb is pointing at the side crease of the thigh, that IT band. And then the forefinger is wrapping around to the inner aspect of the thigh. We're softening the knees, maybe dropping the low back a little bit. Try to relax the shoulders. And then we're going to turn the torso to the left. Now, as we do this, you may notice that for me, I'm going to sink a little bit more on the rear leg. I think classically you stay in the middle, right? I tend to reach back or lean back a little bit, not with my torso, but the energy in my leg comes back a little bit so that as I push forward and place more weight on that left leg, it can really sink in the knee. And then notice here, instead of keeping my foot planted firmly against the earth, I'm coming up a little bit onto the blade of the foot. That takes some of the pressure off of my knee. Then I'm taking the shoulder, the rear shoulder, which in this case would be the right shoulder. It's going to circle forward, up towards the ear, and I'm going to look over, down at the earth or down at the 4th toe. Or if I can't make it, if my gaze doesn't reach that far, I'm going to simply imagine the energy of the eyes falling back to the earth. And then I'm going to release and come back to center by simply softening that right knee, relaxing the shoulder with the knee. They're a joint effort, and then float back to the center. Okay, so a few more times. And turning the torso and the hips to the right. I'm extending that left leg as I bend the right. And then I bring that right shoulder forward, up, arching my back a little bit, and then allowing the gaze to flow down into the earth or the 4th toe. And then I'm going to sink back, coming back to the center. The breath for this is relatively simple. We're inhaling, still inhaling, inhaling, and then exhaling back to the center. Okay, a few more tidbits. I mentioned this one other time when we were working on this exercise. We are activating two main channels, the liver and the gallbladder exercise. The liver exercise is the the liver organ system is the yin organ system. The gallbladder organ system is the yang organ system. And we're usually talking about these organ systems within pairs, within yin and yang pairs. The gallbladder channel starts around the eyes, in the corner of the eyes, and then it zigzags through the head, down to the very top of the shoulder here. And if you push on it yourself, it probably is a little tender. And then it zigzags down the side of the body. I'm generalizing a lot. Into the glute, into the hips, and then into the glute, and then down the sides of the legs, all the way to the fourth toe. Okay? So you can see how by activating this element of the shoulder, the eyes, and placing the thumb at the IT band, that's really engaging that whole gallbladder channel. And then for the liver channel, it's coming up between the second and first toe into the foot, and then into the ankle, sort of generalizing a lot again, and then up the inner aspect of the legs into the hip also, and then into the front of the torso and the rib cage. Okay, so we're activating that a lot as well, right? Okay, done with the talky talk. So placing our hands in position, settling into the space. Inhaling as we turn to the left, continue with that inhale. Exhaling as we come back to center. Inhaling, still inhaling, inhaling, and exhaling as we float back to center. Inhaling, 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 feeling that stretch of the torso. Exhaling back to center. Inhaling, inhaling, inhaling all the way up. And exhaling back into the center. Continuing on. This is a great exercise for stress. It's like we're taking the emotions and wringing them out so that they can move freely. None of our emotions are bad. It's just you want them to be able to move freely. You don't typically want to get stuck in one emotion. So by doing this exercise, it helps move those emotions around, give them some freedom so they can express themselves in as positive a manner as possible. Allowing the breath to lift that shoulder up. And as you exhale, allowing everything to release. And then we're going to bring our left foot back to the right to close. We're going to do one more short closing. Palms once again, rubbing together. I like giving a little bit of the theory and a little bit of the anatomy, the Chinese medical theory anatomy, because I think it's easier to remember the exercises that way. And also I think it's cool. But if it's not the stuff that you're interested in, just push it to the side and don't worry about it. This is your practice. It's for you. So it's whatever works best for you. Placing the palms at the lower dantian. Closing the eyes. And simply allow the mind to settle. Allowing it to come back to stillness. Allowing the lower dantian to fill up with energy. And allowing that energy to settle and store. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. Happy Saturday.